It is I, OSOGAMING here, with something brand new, everyone. Am I playing video games or what am I doing? Well, it's gonna be a little bit of both. Well, not both, because I'm not playing the game. I'm sitting here just talking to my microphone. So this is gonna be doing something a little different. You guys know how I love to tell stories on my channel and stuff. So what I've decided to do is that I've decided to tell you guys a bit about myself. So maybe once, twice, 3 times a week, I'll be telling a little story about stuff that I've been through in my life. Here, there, everywhere else, being around people that I shouldn't have no business being around, doing stuff that I had no business doing, and just being a child throughout the whole time. Now, we're gonna kick this off by going back to when I was in the 8th or 7th grade. By this time, I was always going up to the East Coast to see family. I was always going up there to see my dad, my grandmother, everybody just on my dad's side. Everyone on my dad's side of the family is 3 times bigger than my family that I got down here. It was so much fun going up there, going here, going to the water park, going to see everyone, just going to the movies, going here, going there. It was just different. It was always different. I was going every summer. Now, I have a sister. She is 3 years older than me. I have to mention that she is 3 years older than me. But I'm not too sure what year we all graduated and stuff. Well, I graduated in 16, but I don't really keep up with her like that. So, that kind of sucks. But, if I remember correctly, before we get this, so we can get this story kicked off with, she had a boyfriend. Now, this story is going to revolve around all 3 of us. And I was sitting there. We was all eating. My sister cooked for us. Grandma, she was sitting in her room, just being her, watching TV and whatnot, just sitting there. And I told my sister, I looked at her, I said, girl, I said, you cooked the mess out of that spaghetti. That you cooked the absolute dog crap out of that spaghetti. I loved it. We all loved it. I had like 2 other cousins over there at the time. We was all just, y'all know how we used to do. We all gathered around, sitting around, eating, whatnot, watching TV and stuff. And I noticed that the dog threw up on the back floor by the back door. I looked, didn't mean for that to rhyme, but I looked, I'm like, wait a minute. I said, did he throw up? I looked, I said, Grandma, I said, Deuce threw up on the back floor. My grandma and them, they had 2 dogs. One was a boy and one was a girl. One was named Deuce and one was named Pip. She said, oh, she said, really? I'm like, yeah. She said, well, go ahead, just clean it up. I'm like, all right, cool. Went over there, got me a napkin. I don't want to really say this, but it was thick. I'm like, I said, that was disgusting looking at it. And I looked, I'm like, oh man, I went and picked it up with the napkin and stuff, threw it away. I shut the back door, and then my sister came up to me. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean, what am I doing? I said, you can't just leave, throw up on the floor. Ma'am, I looked at her, she looked at me. She said, that was Bob's only way of getting in. I'm like, I said, Bob? Her boyfriend, I was sitting there, I'm like, what do you mean, Bob? I said, Bob is at the house asleep. I said, he left early today. He just stayed over for like a few hours today. And she told me he's out there by the back door. She said, she said, he's back there out there by the tree behind the fence. I said, man, stop lying. And then she looked, she was on the phone with him. I realized that she was on the phone a lot more that night. This is before we had cell phones and whatnot. She was on the house phone with him constantly. I looked, she said, hey, she said, put your iPod and turn the light on him so he can see you out there. I'm like, he ain't out there. I looked, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh. I sat there and thought to myself, she gonna get us all in trouble because she gonna have us sneak this nigga in the house. She gonna have us sneak him in. He was out there by that tree for maybe 30 minutes to an hour waiting for everyone to go to sleep. My dad was around at the time. He was downstairs sleeping. He was staying over there for a few days, chilling with us, taking us to the movies and whatnot. So when he finally got in, he said, hey, little man, what's up? And I'm like, hey, man. I said, how you doing? I was scared because I didn't want my dad to be coming upstairs and all of a sudden he'd catch him up there. I knew it was going to be screaming and whatnot because my dad didn't like my sister dating and stuff around the time. She was basically in high school at the time. I was still in middle school. But I asked her, I said, so my sister, where are you going to be letting him sleep at? She said, oh, don't worry. I got a place for him to stay under my bed. Excuse me? Did you say under your bed? there's barely enough room for me to fit under there, and I consider myself fat back then. And she said, yeah, she said he'll be over here for a day or so. I'm like, I looked at him, I'm like, oh, so he's just probably gonna be going home tomorrow. I looked at him, I said, what you got all in your bag, man? He said, I got sleeping clothes and stuff, and clothes to wash up with and stuff. I said, so how long you gonna be staying over here? He said, I'm gonna try to stay over here for like a week. I said, a week? A week? That's what freaked me out. I'm like, well, why are you going to be staying over here for a week, just sneaking over? You could just come over and just visit. You don't have to sneak. And I don't want to say what I think they were planning on, but that's what I was thinking. But at the same time, my sister had sense not to be doing that. So fast forward a bit, it was like 3 days later. I'm getting ready to fly, come back down here to Texas. And my grandma, she asked, hey, y'all hungry in there, whatever? We're like, yeah, we want some food, whatnot. And my sister, she was like, hey, she grabbed me by my shoulder. She said, hey, go ask Big Mac, because that's what we gave him a code name at the time. His code name was Big Mac. Yeah, Big Mac. She had crazy names for all her boyfriends. Big Mac, Lil Daddy, I don't know. There's a lot of them that I can't remember, but I went in there, I asked him. He said, bring me back a Big Mac one night. That was odd to me. So when we went, my sister, she was like, yeah, we was all talking in the car, me and my sister and my other two cousins. My grandma, she tells us what all want, we order, and then my sister said, hey, can I get something to eat for later on? And then my grandma looked, she was like, girl, you already getting stuff? She said, just something to eat for later on. Grandma ordered it, she ordered the Big Mac and stuff. I'm sitting there, I'm like, how did she not know that she was ordering from someone else? I was scared the whole time. Sitting there, I'm like, we gonna get caught eventually. We all gonna get in trouble because we are accomplices to her. That's why I'm so sneaky now, because I learned that bull crap from her. Because I learned all that bull crap from her, being sneaky here and there, doing stuff I'm not supposed to be doing. But every night he'll come out, take a shower, whatnot, go downstairs. We'll be watching movies. Well, he was just restricted to the room because my granddad worked late at night, and he would leave at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and come back around 2 in the morning. And it was a funny incident one day that he took a shower. My sister, she went in there giving him his clothes and stuff. That was out in the hallway talking for a bit. She was brushing his hair. All of a sudden, they heard some footsteps coming up the steps. It was granddad. I don't know what happened, but both of them had made me mad previously, and I locked the door. My other cousin looked at me, he said, hey, Lo, she probably should let them in because granddad walking up the steps. I said, man, I ought to not let them in. I forgot what they did, but it was something enough to make me say, forget this, I don't want to get in trouble behind her. Now, the entire time he stayed over there for the remainder of my days while I was over there, they almost got caught like a total of 3 times. And the last time that they almost got caught, it freaked me out. It freaked me the crap out. This is what happened. I was sleeping on the living room chair. My cousins, they went home, and he and my sister was the only one in there. He wasn't allowed to come from under the bed because she was tired that night, because she was sad that I was leaving the next day. I was always sad from leaving up there. Everybody was crying and stuff. And what happened was he was sleeping under the bed and whatnot, and I was sleeping on the couch in the living room, which is a pretty good distance away from her room. And my dad, he walks upstairs. He was like, hey, son. I'm like, what's up, Pops? He looked at me. He said, hey, you need a cover, son? I'm like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm good. And he looked at me. He said, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. I had my clothes on and my bags packed to go back down there. I didn't want to, I wanted to cover, but at the same time, I didn't, because that summer gun was inside the room under the bed with the cover. I wanted to say, yeah, I want to cover, but at the same time, I didn't want him to go in there and see that it was her whole boyfriend was in there. He looked at me. He said, you sure? I'm like, yes, I'm sure. Say, I don't want to cover, Pops. He looked at me. He said, I'm going to go get you one anyway. He walked back to my sister's room. I'm like, oh, Lord. I said, oh my God. My heart dropped. You know when something happens and your heart drops and you change code? That's what happened to me in that moment. I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh God, please. I'm like, God, please don't let him see him under the bed, please. I said, cause I know we all gonna get in trouble. I said, I'm gonna get in trouble. I said, my mama probably gonna whoop the mess out of me, cause my mama used to whoop me for every little single thing. I said, she probably gonna whoop me when I come back down tomorrow for helping her with this stuff. And that moment, it felt like 20 minutes went by. It felt like 20 minutes. What happened was that he went in there, but I flew back down here the next day, and I called my sister. I said, hey. She was like, yeah. I said, what happened? I said, what happened the night before? Cause he just came back out there with the blanket. He said, here, son. He threw me the cover. I'm like, all right, man, cool. It was a big relief because I wasn't gonna get in trouble behind this. None of us was. My other two cousins and stuff. I said, hey, I called her the next day when I got home. I said, what happened? The night before, she started laughing about the situation. She told me what had happened was, Pops walked inside the room and he looked. He said to her, hey, you got a cover or anything for your brother? All she said was, I'm not too sure if I have a cover or anything. She said, but go look out in the closet or somewhere downstairs, because she didn't want to get in trouble neither. None of us wanted to. He was looking around. He opened the closet door. Then she said he looked under the bed. He said, here's a cover right here. He grabbed the cover and he was pulling on it. I know old boy was scared under the bed because he was inches away from my pops murdering him. That's the funny thing about it. He was inches away from getting killed. My dad pulling on the cover. My sister told me, he said that he was trying to roll off on it and stuff. And he was rolling and rolling and rolling because he was like bound up in the blanket and stuff. And at one point, she told me, my dad said, man, what the F is on this cover, man? She said that he looked under there, he yanked the cover finally, it finally came from under. And he went and he just gave me the cover. That's it. She told me she looked under the bed, she asked him, you all right, whatnot? I'm like, girl, I can see where I get my poor judgment from. I get it from my dad, because I don't know how in God's name he didn't see that nigga under the bed. He didn't see him at all. I was just greatly relieved that none of us was gonna be getting in trouble behind this at all. I'm like, oh man. I told her, I said, look, I said, I planned, you know something, I'm not gonna lie. When I came back down here, I said, man, I'm gonna do what my sister did. I'm gonna sneak a girl over and we just gonna be sleeping in here and stuff. And it never happened. It never happened at all. My mama would have beat the living daylights out of me if I did that at all. So that was the first story time of my life there. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I'll be posting one tomorrow. I don't know what I'm gonna tell, but I'm gonna be thinking of stuff at work today or when I go to work, so when I get off. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and or story time. Peace out, everyone. So don't do what my sister did. Y'all have a good night.